Have you ever paused to wonder why some mighty empires crumble after a single storm, while other hidden kingdoms stand firm through thousands of years of silence? The mystery of their endurance does not lie within the gilded spires that reach toward the blue clouds, but in something most people never bother to notice. True strength is often invisible to the naked eye, hidden away from the applause and the light, waiting for the moment when the world truly tests its resolve. While the world looks at the beauty on the surface, the earth remembers the weight of the foundations that have held the world together for countless dark centuries. Deep within the darkness of the ground, a single seed begins to stir, drawing life from the silence and preparing to become something that will eventually touch sky. It grows without a sound, building its power in the quiet shadows, away from the prying eyes of those who only value what is bright and immediately visible. Every great monument we see today was once just a dream rooted in the quiet earth, built stone by stone with a patience that the modern world lacks. To understand the echo of eternity, one must look past the gold and the marble and find the silent bricks that bear the burden of the entire world. Kael was a young builder driven by a burning ambition to be seen, believing that the value of any work was measured by the admiration of the crowd. He spent his days under the golden sun, pouring his soul into the most beautiful decorations, hoping his name would one day be engraved upon the highest spire. His gaze was always fixed upward, toward the summit where the first light of dawn would touch the gold, dreaming of the glory that awaited him there. Around him, the air was filled with the sounds of progress and the vibrant colors of wealth, as every man competed to build the most dazzling heights. They believed that greatness was found in the height of the walls and the shine of the stones, racing against time to finish their magnificent, tall masterpieces. To Kael, the dark and damp foundations were a place for those without talent, a necessary but ugly part of the work that he wished to avoid entirely. He didn't understand why anyone would spend their life in the shadows, working on things that would be buried and forgotten once the grand palace was finally complete. While others shouted in the sun, this old master worked in silence, his focus entirely on the hidden strength of the stones he laid beneath the heavy earth. He felt pity for the old man, thinking that a life spent in the foundations was a life wasted, far from the light of fame and public recognition. But as the day ended, the spires he loved so much were still just hollow shells, waiting for a strength they did not yet possess to hold them. The old man knew a secret that Kael had yet to learn, a truth that could only be found in the quiet darkness of the world's deepest places. One evening, the old master took Kael by the hand and led him down into the subterranean depths, far below the beautiful towers and the gilded halls. The air was heavy and cold, smelling of ancient earth and wet stone, a stark contrast to the bright and airy world Kael was so accustomed to. "Look closely, my son," the old man whispered. "These stones have no names and no patterns, yet they hold the weight of everything you see above us. They are the forgotten guardians, the silent workers who accept the darkness and the crushing pressure of an entire empire so that others may live in light." He began to realize that the beauty of the spire was a gift from the strength of the foundation, a relationship he had never considered before this moment. "The silence down here is not the silence of death," the master explained, "but the sound of absolute stability and a commitment that never wavers or breaks. Imagine these stones as roots, reaching deep into the heart of the world, anchoring our dreams to the reality of the earth itself, forever and always. Without these roots, the tallest tree would fall at the first sign of a breeze, and the most beautiful palace would crumble into a pile of dust." The old man's words echoed in the small chamber, filling Kael's mind with the image of a world built on the backs of the humble and the quiet. True greatness, my boy, is being able to hold everything up without ever needing to be seen, finding satisfaction in the strength you provide to others. He felt the weight of the entire tower pressing down on these stones, and for the first time, he respected the silence of the foundation more than glory. The stillness of the underground became a teacher, showing him that the most important work is often done where no one is looking and no one cares. He understood that his marble carvings were merely the skin, while these plain, unadorned stones were the bones and the very soul of the great kingdom. The lesson was carved into his heart as deeply as any pattern he had ever etched into stone, changing the course of his life forever after. In that darkness, Kael found a clarity he had never known in the blinding light of the sun, a vision of what it truly means to build. But the true test of the foundation was not in the peaceful days of summer, but in the arrival of the great storm that was coming. Nature has a way of finding the weakness in every man's work, stripping away the decoration to see what lies beneath the surface of our pride. Suddenly, the heavens opened, and the desert was consumed by a fury of wind and water, a great flood that threatened to wash away everything. The towers that once reached for the stars now trembled like leaves in the wind, their height becoming their greatest vulnerability against the power of nature. The beautiful decorations Kael had spent months perfecting were torn away in seconds, shattering against the hard ground as if they were made of thin glass. The voices that once praised the beauty of the towers were now screams of fear as the people realized that their superficial glory offered no protection. Kael ran, not toward the heights he once loved, but down toward the dark cellar, seeking the only place he felt might still be safe and secure. He found the old master sitting in the silence, as peaceful as a statue, while the world above screamed in the agony of its own sudden collapse. When the storms of life arrive, they do not ask how many people praised your name. They only ask how deep and strong your foundation truly is. The ground groaned and shifted, but the silent stones held their position, refusing to move even a single millimeter against the weight of the raging storm. He finally understood that what is built in a hurry to impress others will always be the first to fall when the real challenges finally arrive. Only what is forged in silence and tempered by discipline can survive the test of time and the destructive power of a world that is always changing. As the fury of the storm passed, the silence of the cellar began to feel like a victory, a testament to the power of things that remain hidden. He realized that a true kingdom is not built on the admiration of others, but on the quiet strength that resides within the soul of the builder. The light returned, but Kael was no longer the same man who had feared the shadows just a few short hours before this life-changing ordeal began. He had found the secret of immortality, and it was much simpler and much harder than he had ever imagined in his youthful, arrogant dreams. When the sun rose again, Kael did not return to the high spires. Instead, he stayed in the shadows, working with a new and profound purpose. He placed each stone with love and precision, knowing that he was building a legacy that would last long after his own name was forgotten by men. He no longer looked at the sky for validation. His eyes were fixed on the earth, ensuring that every hidden corner was as perfect as possible. Your greatest kingdom is not a territory on a map, but the person you become when no one is watching, and there is no one to applaud. Those invisible bricks are the discipline of your daily habits, the kindness that requires no recognition, and the courage to keep going through the darkest nights. Do not fear the silence or the shadows, for that is the fertile ground where the most enduring and magnificent structures of character are first begun. The size of the tree's shadow is determined by the depth of its roots, and the height of your life is determined by the depth of your soul. He had learned that to build something that lasts, one must first learn to be still, and to find strength in the absence of noise and fame. Season after season, he built his inner kingdom, stone by stone, until his foundation was as solid as the very mountains that surrounded the desert. The world may not see what you are building today, but one day, when the storms return, they will see the man who remains standing. He had become a master not of stone, but of himself, and that was the greatest empire he could ever hope to rule or to build. So the years passed, and the monument finally stood finished, a beacon of strength and beauty that seemed to hold up the very fabric of the stars. Kael, now an old man himself, looked at the next generation with a smile, knowing that the cycle of building would continue long after him. Do not be in a hurry to build the spires that people will praise, he advised. Start deep in the earth of your own quiet spirit. Because in the end, the greatest echo is not the sound of a name being shouted, but the enduring stability of what was built in silence. The world will always be fascinated by the shine, but it is the silent, invisible foundation that determines what will remain when the shine fades away. Are you ready to lay the first stone of your own foundation today? Remember, the quietest work often makes the loudest impact on the future of history. Start where you are, use what you have, and build something that even the greatest storm cannot move. While your silent masterpiece begins right here and now.